The spaceport bar on Zeltran Station was noisy, filled with the hum of alien voices, blinking lights, and the scent of strange drinks. Most who entered were smugglers, traders, or star pilots with credits to burn. In the corner of the bar, a table stood with a group of aliens gathered around it. Their faces were serious. Their eyes were locked on a simple deck of glowing cards. At that table sat Jace Thorne, a human smuggler with a lazy smile and tired eyes. His jacket was old, his boots worn, but he carried himself like someone who had never lost a bet that mattered. Across from him sat Dr. Valzar of Voltaria, tall, silver-skinned alien with a long head and glowing green eyes. Valzar was not a fighter, not a trader. He was something rarer, a scientist, a genius. Some even whispered he was the smartest mind in 5 sectors. The game was called Void Cards, a mix of luck and skill. Most thought humans had no place at the table with Altari elites, but here Jace was, casually playing hand after hand, winning small, losing some, always calm. Valzar had been watching him from afar for a while. When he finally sat down, the room grew quieter. An Altari betting against a human, that was something rare. The stakes began: small credits, data chips, navigation charts. But then came the turn. Jace leaned forward, looked straight into Valzar's eyes, and said something that made half the table pause. "I bet you something different," he said softly. Valzar tilted his head. "Different? Explain." "If I win this round," Jace said, "you owe me 1 month of your services. No tricks, no running. You work with me. Use that brain of yours for whatever I ask." Laughter rose from nearby tables. A few alien players shook their heads. "Ridiculous," someone muttered. "He dares bet on a mind like Valzar's." But Valzar didn't laugh. His face remained still, unreadable. Then slowly, he said, "And if I win, you get this." Jace replied, sliding a small black chip across the table. "Encrypted location. No one else has it. Leads to something ancient." A few eyes widened. Whispers traveled across the bar. Ancient things were dangerous, valuable, forbidden. Valzar picked up the chip, examined it for 3 seconds, and placed it beside the deck. Agreed. The cards were shuffled by the table's machine, glowing as they flew into each player's hand. One by one, players folded, leaving only Jace and Valzar. The bar had grown quiet now. Even the music in the corner had dropped its beat. All eyes were on this final round. Valzar played first. His hand was strung in almost unbeatable combination. Then Jace laid his cards down. A perfect hand? Statistically rare. Nearly impossible. Silence. Valzar stared at the cards. His eyes didn't blink. One of the nearby players whispered, "He beat him." A human just beat Valzar. Jace didn't cheer. He just leaned back in his chair and gave a small nod. Valzar looked up. "You cheated." "Nope," Jace said. "You just didn't read me right." Valzar stood tall, proud, but he did not walk away. He reached out, picked up the black chip, and placed it in his belt pouch. "You have me for 1 month, he said quietly. "But know this, smuggler, I am not a tool. Use me poorly, and you'll regret it." Jace smiled. "Relax. I don't need a tool. I need a brain, and yours is one of the best." The other players slowly returned to their drinks and their own games. But the air had changed. Something strange had happened. Here's something big. A bet that should have never been made was now real. Jace and Valzar left the bar, side by side, walking into the crowded corridors of Zeltran Station. No one knew what the human wanted. No one knew what the scientist would do. But one thing was clear. This was no normal job. And the galaxy, it had just changed. It just didn't know it yet. The Iron Sparrow was nothing like Valzar expected. It wasn't sleek or high-tech. It didn't shine like the Altari vessels he was used to. No. The ship looked patched together, metal plates from different eras, wiring running along the walls, and a soft hum that sounded just a bit off. But despite all that, the ship flew smooth, stable, efficient. Jace walked through the ship like it was part of him. He tapped walls, adjusted small dials, and gave passing nods to his strange crew. Valzar observed everything quiet, calculating. The crew wasn't what he'd call trained professionals. A four-armed engineer with a laugh too loud, a quiet Terran pilot with a strange eye implant, even a plant-based life form managing sensors. None of them seemed important, yet they worked like a family. Valzar was led to a private cabin, small but clean. A soft blue light glowed from the ceiling, and the bed adjusted as he sat. It was comfortable, which annoyed him more than it should have. Jace appeared in the doorway. "We leave in for hours. Hope you're ready for the real job." Valzar raised a brow. "What exactly is the job, smuggler?" Jace leaned on the doorframe. "You heard of Elith Prime?" Valzar's body stilled. "That system is off limits," he replied. "Slowly. Quarantined. Ships don't return." "That's what they say," Jace said with a grin. "But I have a signal, a trace. Something old. Is there something your kind left alone because they were too scared to understand it?" Valzar narrowed his eyes. "You risk your crew. For stories," Jace shrugged. "Not for stories. For proof." Valzar sat back in silence. He had read about Elith Prime. Not much was known, only that ships vanished. Sensors failed, and time itself behaved strangely. But there were rumors. whispers about structures older than the known galaxy, structures that hummed with energy no one could decode. The scientist in him was curious. The Altari in him was cautious. That night, as the ship powered up, Vale walked the corridors, quietly studying every piece of tech. Despite its age, the Iron Sparrow was modified in brilliant ways, energy rerouted in clever loops, shielding in unexpected layers. He noticed signs of Terran design, but also something else. Older, symbols from pre-galactic cultures carved into panels. They weren't decorative. Jace caught him staring. Found something interesting, Velzar turned. These markings, they're not just symbols, they're coordinates. This ship has traveled farther than I thought. Jace smiled faintly. Yeah, she's been places. As the ship entered the Elith system, everything changed. The stars outside seemed to stretch. The nav systems blinked. Gravity shifted slightly, just enough for Velzar to feel a faint pull in his chest. The crew grew quiet. Jace sat in the captain's seat, eyes forward. A broken moon appeared on the screen, floating pieces of rock circling something at the center. It wasn't a planet, not anymore. A hollow sphere surrounded by wreckage, but at the heart of it all was something smooth, metallic, still whole. That, Jace whispered, is what we came for. Velzar leaned forward. The structure didn't match any design he knew. No race claimed it. It looked untouched by time. And yet, he felt it was watching them. As they approached, the ship shuddered. Lights dimmed, the controls flickered. The engineer yelled from below, "Something's pulling us in." Jace remained calm. "Let it, we're close." Velzar touched the sensor console. "It's not gravity, it's frequency, like a song. The structure is emitting music." Jace looked at him. "And can you understand it?" Velzar hesitated, then nodded. "With time?" "Good," Jace said, standing, "because no one else ever made it this far." Then came the twist. The crew began disappearing from the monitors one by one. No alarms, no noise, just gone. Only Jace and Velzar remained. The cabin lights flickered, then went dark. Outside, the structure opened and the real journey began. The silence inside the Iron Sparrow was unnatural. No beeping lights, no engine hum, no voices, just a quiet that pressed down on everything, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. Jace Thorne stood by the main console, staring at screens that showed only static. He tapped buttons, but the ship didn't respond. The other crew members were gone, vanished without a trace. No alarms, no struggle. Just empty rooms and frozen terminals. Only Jace and Velzar remained. Velzar moved carefully, analyzing what was left of the ship's readings. "The signal we followed. It's not just a beacon," he said, his voice low. "It's a filter. It let us through but removed the others. I think, it chose us." Jace looked over. "Chose us for what?" Velzar didn't answer. He was already at the scanner, fingers moving with speed and care. The structure outside, more than old. It predates galactic history. The materials aren't in any database. The readings show no decay, no corrosion. As if time, forgot it. Jace stepped to the window and looked out. The structure loomed close now. Its shape clear perfectly, round, but not smooth. Its surface was covered with moving lines, like veins glowing with a soft blue light. Every few seconds, a pulse of energy rippled across it, making space around it shimmer like heat above sand. Then, the voice came. Not through speakers, not in sound. It was felt inside the skull. Presence confirmed. Origin, human, genetic. Pattern, recognized. Jace gasped and stepped back. Velzar froze. "You heard that?" Jace asked. Velzar nodded slowly. "It spoke, to you." A low vibration passed through the ship. The structure outside began to shift. Panels peeled open like flower petals. Behind them, a passage appeared glowing faintly. Jace turned to Velzar. "Do we go?" Velzar hesitated. If this thing wanted us gone, it could have done so. Already, whatever this is, it wants us to enter. They prepared in silence. Jace grabbed a small pack, a flashlight, and a recorder. Velzar carried his handheld scanner and a backup data core. The airlock hissed, and a long walkway extended. From the ship to the structure built from energy, not metal. As they stepped onto it, their boots made no sound. The walkway was stable, warm, and somehow familiar. Each step brought a strange feeling like walking through someone else's memories. The inside of the structure was vast. Walls curved around, them glowing with symbols that shifted as they passed. Velzar tried scanning, but the readings were unreadable. "The tech here is beyond logic," he whispered. "It's not built like anything. It's grown. Designed to live, not run." Jace kept moving forward, led by instinct more than knowledge. "This place feels like it knows me." At the heart of the structure, they entered a chamber with a central platform. Above it floated a sphere of light, shifting colors slowly, like a living star. Velzar approached carefully. "It's a memory core," he said, "but not from our galaxy. This came from the first ones." "The first ones." Jace echoed. "Legends. A race believed to exist before records. Some say they shaped the stars. Most believe they're a myth. But this proves they were real." The sphere pulsed once. chosen ... carrier found. A beam of light connected with Jace's chest. He staggered but didn't fall. Velzar raised his scanner, panicking. It's reading your DNA. Images flashed in Jace's mind, worlds without names, machines building suns, hands crafting life, then silence. He dropped to his knees, breath heavy. Velzar helped him up. What did you see? Memories, Jace whispered. Not mine. There's the first ones. And ... one of them looked like me. Velzar stepped back. That's impossible. Or maybe, Jace said, standing. I'm not the first human to come here. The sphere dimmed, and the walls began to change. A new door opened, showing a path deeper into the structure. The air inside felt different, charged, heavy with expectation. Velzar stared at the open path. We should leave, take the data and go. But Jace shook his head. No. I need to know why this place knew me. I need to know what's waiting. At the end, Velzar watched him for a long moment. Then he sighed. Very well, but understand this. Human, we are walking into the memory of a forgotten race, and memories are not always kind. They stepped through the doorway, disappearing into the glow. Behind them, the structure sealed ... and in the dark beyond the stars, something old began to awaken. The walls around them shimmered like soft glass, yet felt warm to the touch. As Jace and Velzar moved deeper into the structure, the air began to change. It was thicker, but not hard to breathe, just strange, as if the place wasn't made for lungs, yet allowed them to exist anyway. The path ahead bent gently, glowing beneath their feet. Every step lit up a trail of shifting symbols, which faded once passed. Velzar recorded them all, but the patterns changed too quickly to study in real time. His scanner, once full of data, now filled only with questions. This place is learning, Velzar said quietly. The symbols adjust based on our movements. It's reacting. Reacting to us, Jace asked, pausing mid-step. No, Velzar corrected, looking around. To you? The corridor opened into a circular chamber with 7 tall arches, each leading to a different passage. Above each arch floated a glowing stone, suspended in mid-air, softly humming. The tones blended together, forming a kind of harmony. It was not just sound, it was feeling. Calm, purposeful. Velzar examined the stones. This is a gateway hub. Each path leads to a different chamber, possibly tied to memory, knowledge, or trial. Jace frowned. Trial. These builders didn't just store their history, they tested those who entered. Only the worthy learned their secrets. Jace sighed, hands on his hips. Of course they did. Nothing's ever simple. He walked toward the first arch. As he stepped close, the stone above it turned golden. Velzar watched as lines of energy danced across Jace's skin, but they didn't harm him. They scanned him quietly, as if asking questions. Then, the light around the arch bent inward and revealed a different space inside, no longer the same corridor. It was a forest, but not any forest Jace or Velzar knew. The trees stretched high into glowing mists, their trunks transparent, pulsing with light. Strange bird-like creatures circled overhead, made of shimmer and air. The air smelled like forgotten memories, sweet, distant, soft. Jace stepped in. Velzar hesitated, but followed inside. Everything shifted. The sounds, the temperature, even gravity. The two floated slightly above the ground with each step. In the center of this forest stood a platform, and above it, a cube made of light, turning slowly. This is a memory chamber, Velzar said with awe. A living one. The structure is showing us how it remembers. Jace stared at the cube. Images floated around it, planets being formed, giant ships weaving through galaxies, tall beings with eyes like stars working in harmony. Then Jace saw something that made him stop breathing. One of the tall beings, their shape, their movement, was human, or at least, something very close. Close enough to make his heart race. Velzar saw it too. That's impossible. Not if we were here before, Jace said slowly. What if humans didn't come from Earth? What if Earth was just a resting place? Velzar paced in silence. It's more than that. The structure recognized you, and now it's showing you this. It's guiding you. Jace touched the cube. The memory vanished. The forest faded, and they were back in the hub chamber. But, this time, the second arch was glowing. The next path led to a hall of mirrors, each one showing a version of Jace. In some, he was older. In some, younger. In some, he wore uniforms. In others, strange robes. Every mirror showed a possible path, a life that could have been, or had already been lived. Jace moved past them slowly, eyes wide. Velzar whispered, this isn't just memory. It's time, folded, shaped, stored. The builders didn't forget. They prepared. Jace turned. Prepared for what? But no answer came. They exited the second chamber, and something changed. The structure itself grew brighter. The arches began to close, one by one, until only one remained. The last path. The hum in the walls grew louder, like a song reaching its end. VEL single quotes ZAR turned to Jace. I believe this place has chosen its course. There's no turning back now. Jace didn't speak. His thoughts were far away on the figure that looked like him, on the memories not his own, on a voice deep inside whispering that this was just the beginning. They stepped into the final chamber. And behind them, the galaxy listened, though it didn't understand why. Not yet. The moment Jace and Velzar stepped into the final chamber, everything changed. The floor beneath them turned translucent, revealing a vast galaxy spinning. Slowly beneath their feet, stars, planets, nebulae, all glowing softly. The ceiling above mirrored the same view, but slightly different. Not a reflection, a prediction. One galaxy was the past, the other the future. In the center of the chamber floated a pillar of light, pulsing with rhythm like a heartbeat. Symbols danced around it, written in languages long forgotten. Velzar's scanner buzzed wildly but produced no clear reading. It's alive, Velzar whispered, or it's simulating life. This ... is the core. Jace stood still, eyes locked on the swirling light. He wasn't afraid. He felt something familiar, like being called by name in a dream. The voice he'd heard earlier returned, not with words, but feeling. Welcome. Recognition. Velzar slowly walked around the pillar. This chamber, it's the signal source. It's the heart of the structure, and maybe, of something much larger. Jace, your DNA is somehow bonded to it. Jace didn't respond at first. His hand was hovering just inches from the light. I've felt lost most of my life, he said quietly. Like I was always searching for something I didn't understand. Places, signs, dreams. Now I'm here, and all of it makes sense. This isn't just some alien tech. This knows me. Velzar's expression was unreadable. Then maybe you're more than just human. Suddenly, the light surged, washing the chamber in a gentle wave of warmth. The stars beneath their feet flickered, and the future sky above began to shift. Then came the sound, not loud, but clear. A tone, a signal. In distant parts of the galaxy, listening posts, science ships, and ancient satellites picked it up. It was subtle but precise, a frequency not heard in over 1,000,000 years. Civilizations paused. Councils gathered. Worlds turned their eyes toward Elith Prime. The signal had awakened. Back in the chamber, Jace blinked as new images flooded his vision. Not just memories this time, but locations, coordinates, a map of sites scattered across the galaxy. Ancient places waiting to be found. Velzar's scanner lit up. It's a chain, he said. A network. This place is one of many. And you've just activated all of them. Jace stepped back, shaken. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. You were meant to, Velzar said, his voice calm now. This wasn't an accident. The moment you entered that card game, this journey started. You were guided here, piece by piece. Outside the chamber, the structure began to hum louder. The walls pulsed in sync with the signal. Jace turned to Velzar. If this spreads across the galaxy... What happens? Velzar looked at the star map forming in the air. Change, discovery, maybe even fear. The galaxy has rules. Old rules. This signal breaks them. Jace nodded slowly. Then we need to decide who hears it first. But they weren't alone anymore. A soft shimmer appeared near the edge of the chamber, shaped like a figure, tall and glowing, not solid. A projection. It had no face, but its posture was peaceful. It raised a hand slowly. Jace stared, unsure what to do. The figure pointed toward him, then toward the star map, and then it vanished. Velzar stepped forward, checking the sensors again. That was a guide, a memory image. The first ones left it for their chosen. For you, why? Jace asked. Velzar took a long breath. Because whatever they were preparing for, still out there, and now that you've activated the network, it's going to notice. Jace stared at the map again. Dozens of points blinked softly across the galaxy, silent, waiting. Then we don't run, he said. Velzar looked at him, surprised. You mean to follow this? I didn't come this far to walk away, Jace replied. If there are answers out there, I want them. If there's something coming... I want to be ready. Velzar gave a small nod. Then we go together. As they stepped out of the chamber, the structure behind them began to seal. The signal continued to hum, reaching out to stars as systems. Civilizations... and in far-off parts of the galaxy, silent watchers stirred. Jace didn't know what waited next. But for the first time in his life, he wasn't lost. He was part of something greater, something ancient. And it had only just begun. The Iron Sparrow drifted through space once more. But it wasn't the same ship that had entered the Elith system days earlier. And Jace Thorne wasn't the same man. Behind them, the great ancient structure had sealed itself. Silent once again, but the signal it released still echoed across the galaxy. Jace sat in the command chair, not speaking, staring at the star map. Projected before him, the glowing points marked hidden sites, known relics, sleeping machines, and secrets buried in distant systems. Each one was now calling out in quiet rhythm, and Jace could feel it. Not in sound or language, but somewhere deeper, like a memory waiting to be lived. Velzar stood beside him, arms crossed, watching the map. Every one of those places could hold something powerful, something dangerous. And now, everyone with a long-range sensor knows where the signal came from. Jace nodded. Then we don't have much time. They weren't alone anymore. Far away, governments were waking up. Councils were meeting. Science fleets were redirecting. Even those who lived on the edge of law and order, pirates, treasure hunters, Rogue captains were setting coordinates for Elith Prime, but they were already too late. Jace and Velzar were the only ones who had entered the core, the only ones who had been seen by the memory itself. Velzar turned to the ship's console. The signal is growing stronger. It's not just calling. It's not ... connecting. To you, you've become part of it. Jace didn't answer at first. Then, finally he said, I think it's more than a signal. It's a test. Velzar narrowed his eyes. A test for what? For trust, Jace said. The first ones left something behind, something huge, maybe even something that could shift how the galaxy works. But they didn't want just anyone to find it. They left a trail, but only those willing to listen, to follow, to understand only, they get access. Velzar looked thoughtful. Then you passed. Jace shook his head. No, not yet. This was just the start. The Iron Sparrow adjusted course. Heading toward the nearest point on the map, a red giant star surrounded by 6 frozen moons. According to Velzar's scanner, there was a chamber buried beneath the ice of the third moon. Its signal pulsed, slower than the one on Elith Prime, but it was unmistakable. They approached quietly as they landed. The surface crackled beneath them, ice shifting under the heat of the ship's engines. Jace and Velzar stepped onto the frozen moon together. No sign of life, no storms, just silence. Like the moon itself had been waiting, Velzar scanned the surface. It's here, beneath us. A structure ... dormant, but whole. Jace looked around. Let's see what it remembers. They dug carefully using small pulse tools from the ship. After hours of quiet work, the ice broke open, revealing a tunnel of black, circular path leading deep underground. Light flickered along the walls, and soft hums echoed upward. The tunnel led to a chamber that looked much like the first one on Elith Prime, but older, colder. It didn't glow, it didn't sing, until Jace stepped inside. The moment his foot touched the inner floor, the chamber woke up. Lights flared softly. A slow warmth returned. Symbols lit the walls. The star map returned, but this time, a new marker blinked. One that wasn't on the original map. Velzar gasped. Another sight just revealed itself. The map. It's growing as we move, Jace stared. Then, it really is a chain. One leads to the next, piece by piece. But something else happened. A new shape formed beside the map. Not a planet, not a machine. A door, floating in space, somewhere far from known systems. A massive doorway was opening. The signal wasn't just calling. It was unlocking. Face turned serious. We don't know what's on the other side. No, Jace said, but it's what they wanted someone to find. And if they chose me, ... I need to finish what they started. Velzar nodded. Then we follow the chain. We go to the next point, and then the next, until we're ready. Jace smiled faintly. Until the door opens. They returned to the ship, their minds racing. Far across the galaxy. Those who had picked up the signal were already mobilizing, but none of them knew what truly waited at the end. They thought it was power, technology, wealth. They were wrong. What Jace and Velzar found was not just forgotten history or ancient machines. It was a message of preparation, a warning in silence, because what had been locked away was waking up. And somewhere beyond the stars, something was listening. But this time, the galaxy wouldn't face it alone. A human was already on the path. And this time, the galaxy was the one playing catch-up.